Eventually this weather's going to break. We're hoping it's April, and it's April right now. Kathy Procop's here to talk about the Twinsburg Mayor's Report. Thank you so much for coming by. And last month I had the fortune of coming over once again. I like to touch on this every year because it's such a nice affair. The State of the City address, which was once again well attended by hundreds of people over at the Hilton Garden Inn, or the Hilton Garden Inn.
Right.
It went real well. Were you happy with it?
I was. You know, this is an opportunity every year to give an update on what's going on, and this year we had lots of news. We talked about the reduction in the income tax. We talked about the progress that we're making at Cornerstone Business Park. Our new fire chief and the assistant police chief. So
there were a lot of new things on the docket over there.
Right. We talked about our finances, that we did have a significant increase in our income tax revenue last year. So we had lots of good news, and I was glad to share that with our residents, and especially the business sector, who the Chamber Luncheon is geared towards.
Right.
And so many times our business sector doesn't really get a good handle on what's going on in the city. Our residents read the bulletin or they come to council meetings. But the business sector,
a lot of times they may not be located right here in I mean, their business is, but a lot of times where they live may not be right around here.
That's true. So this is an opportunity to really touch base with our business community and let them know what's going on. We talked about some of the new businesses coming into the city. Last year we brought in 60 new jobs from new companies, so it's pretty incredible. And our existing companies, over 300 new jobs just from our existing companies.
Like expanding and that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a great chance for us to be able to tell our businesses we're progressing, we're moving forward, and give them all that news for the previous year.
And you talked about the tax revenue going up, that sort of thing, but once again, as you talked about, you went back to the voters, and the actual rate was brought down a little. So let's start things off with the budget. I know March is when the timetable runs out and everything has to be approved. What do you foresee for the next year? Now that give us some numbers.
That's a good question. Well, our budget this year is $54 million, so we have a very big budget, and we are expecting, however, a reduction in our income tax revenue. Last year we brought in $26 million from our income tax revenue, and this year, due to basically the loss of the 0.25%, reducing our income tax from 2.25% to 2%, we're expecting about $20 million, $20 million in income tax revenue.
And Don Cookta brought up too, also the government fund portion from the state goes down. There's no estate tax issue, so there's a lot of hits that you're going to be taking along the way.
Yes, those are all
revenue streams.
Revenue streams are all things that we consider when we set our income tax. Our general revenue stream will be about $20 million. For things you just said, local government fund, the reduction in interest income on our investments. That is just
peanuts.
It really is. It really is a shame, the reduction in that. The estate taxes. So there are a lot of things that affect our budget besides just the reduction of the income tax.
Well, talk a little bit more about the budget. You have the figure there. How much goes to capital versus, your normal general?
Capital, we always make sure that at the end of the year we fund it to have an opening balance of $3 million.
Okay.
So this year we'll be spending about $5 to $7 million in capital projects, but at the end of the year we'll refund it and make sure that we have a balance of $3 million to start us off for the next year. Our road program alone this year, just for maintenance of our roads, and that's talking about top coating our roads, some sewer maintenance. The road program is $911,000, another $76,000 for sewer projects. So
I'm trying to remember what you normally spend. Is there some years where you're at like $500,000 and some years where you're at $1 million?
Yeah, we're usually, I would say, average about $700,000.
Okay.
But we have an ambitious program this year, and especially you saw what the roads looked like after this winter. They really
some money.
They got hit hard this year.
Now, do you have any specific that sticks out in your head road-wise that are going to be attacked this year?
Road-wise, our major project is Westwood. And this will be a total road reconstruction with water lines. We're replacing transite pipe, old iron pipe, so that will be water lines, sewer lines, sanitary, storm,
Oh, ball of wax.
everything, and then plus the road reconstruction, and that's a $1.8 million project. Now that project, we have a zero interest loan for a portion of it, part of it will be funding, but that is really a major project as we work through Glenwood Acres. We've been doing each one of these roads. We've been trying to do them once a year, but you know, occasionally something else comes up, but we're almost done with Glenwood Acres.
You know, you're one of the, as long as I've done this show, you've been mayor, which is weird compared to the other two cities that we do this with. As long as you've done this, have you seen, I guess what I'm trying to say is, the older pipes, et cetera, that need to be replaced, are we pretty well getting caught up on that as far as, you know, some of them in Aurora are 50 to 100 years old, and they constantly have to be replacing those. I just don't know what kind of schedule you're on as far as, you know, you're not going to have to do that forever once you get in the lot better material that's put in now. But are you anywhere near getting caught up on that?
You know, we have a very ambitious maintenance program. We are always taking care of our water lines, our sewer lines, and nevertheless, it's just never enough. Right now, the center of town, those lines there are way over 50 years old. And we had a lining project. We used in situ form and lined all of the sewers in that area. But nevertheless, that's 20 years old, the lining project. So we have to go back and look and see if there's point repairs that we have to make, if we should reline.
Is that an area where it would probably cost a lot more, only because if you're doing a long residential road like Glenwood or something like that, it doesn't have the concentration of businesses and traffic and everything else that's right there. Does that bring a big cost?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime that you're dealing with the more curb cuts you have, the more traffic you have, everything becomes complicated. And so anyway, our newer developments obviously are in pretty good shape. And we have a lot of newer developments, and we've worked through Glenwood Acres. We're almost done with that. But then we'll move into Heritage Hills, and we're working on Summit Hills. We still have the square area. When you have that many sewers and roads, it's just a constant maintenance program that you have to
So although some of them may be newer, by the time you get done with all these other ones,
That's
it's going to be time to go back to those anyhow.
Absolutely. And it's one area that I've always been very conscious about, and so has the engineering department.
Right.
I really believe it's necessary for us to take care of what we have. And maintenance, although we spend a lot of money every year, you just have to do it, because once those lines and your roads fall apart, I don't know how you would ever catch up.
It's too bad, too, because it's never cheap either.
It's not cheap. And even the potholes this year, last count I heard, it was a couple weeks ago, we had filled over 3,300 potholes, which is more than double than what we had to do last year, going back to the difficult winter that we had.
Yeah. It is a nonstop battle. So.
It really is.
Okay. Let's shift gears. Something that doesn't come around every year, but does every few years, is your charter and redistricting committee gets together. Is that every 5 years?
Every 5 years.
Okay. So they're both back in the docket again.
This is the year. Our redistricting committee, they will look at all of the wards in the city, and they'll look at the voting population, and they have to equalize the voting population in each ward.
Okay.
So you don't want one ward to have 1,000 voters and the next ward has 4,000. Basically,
So if a new development moves into one of these wards, you may jack up your population suddenly there.
That's what happens. So they'll look at all of the voting statistics that we have over the last 5 years, and if they have to change the boundaries to the wards, they'll change the boundaries. And again, it happens about every 5 years.
Now, do they work, if for some reason the Charter Commission, I thought, worked through the summer? Is that when did they give you their recommendations when they do their homework?
The Charter Review Commission, now that was the Ward Redistricting Committee that we just talked about. Charter Review Commission, they started in January, and they will be working probably through the summer, about 7 months, till they give their recommendations to council for the November ballot.
Do you think that'll be more language issues again, or do you think they'll change it?
There's some language issues. In fact, some of the language issues we can take care of in-house and do that internally, which we will do. But they have some issues that they're looking at. For example, they're looking at the succession of the office of the mayor. And right now, if something would happen to me or if I would resign, it goes to the president of council. But after that, it goes to a vote of the remaining council members, which could end up in a tie forever. That would leave 6 members of council. and you could have a 3-3 and basically nobody running the city. So it's something that came to their attention, and it's been that way since the charter was written. But they've been looking at other charters and see that there's different types of succession plans for other cities. And it may be just as simple as going from the council president to the council vice president, and, you know, to take care of that problem. But
so this group's basically there to clean up any old language and really to try to make your charter stronger for these obscure cases that may come down the road? Make
it stronger and update it. They're going through the entire charter, article by article. We have some areas where the department heads that they mentioned and the departments, those have changed. The titles have changed. And some of that's housekeeping, but it needs to be done to keep your...
I remember last time some of the powers of the mayor were changed in that you could name, I don't remember, the finance director or something that wasn't that way before that. So there is a constant need to go through that thing.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, that's the point of it, getting the residents involved. This is their government, and letting them make the recommendations to council for changes that they think should be in the charter.
Okay. Again, we'll shift gears. What is the Heartland? It's coming soon, so tell us what that is again.
Heartland of Twinsburg. This is Manor Care, located at Highland and Route 91.
Right at the end of the road here.
It'll be a rehab center and 120 beds, I believe. So it's going to be a really nice addition, especially so close to Cleveland Clinic there. We're getting a lot of ancillary medical facilities in there. I believe that they'll be open sometime in July.
And Joe Wilson does a great job. He'll be in charge of that?
Yes.
Is that how they work?
About 140 employees there.
That's going to be great. That'll help you out then, too, right?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Something that came up during the State of the City address was the Taste of Twinsburg. That's new. So tell everyone at home
this is a brand new event. We're very excited about it. It's going to be on June 21st. And Jen Charlton from Fox 8 News, she is heading it up. She's a producer there. And she has enlisted Kenny Crumpton from Kicking It With Kenny. And he will be involved in it. So we're so excited. Jen has a great amount of enthusiasm and connections. She has enlisted so many volunteers for this, but we still need more. We need help, especially the day of the event. So if you're interested in getting involved with the Taste of Twinsburg, please contact my office.
And I was amazed at the number of restaurants or food places that are already involved with this. You don't think about it until you start naming them, and then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about them.
And we will have an entire restaurant row, and you'll be able to sample some of the finest food in Twinsburg. There will be a kids zone. We will have bands. Anything you can imagine at a festival will be there, and it's going to be great.
Again, June, and we'll bring it up again in our May report. I just wanted to throw that out there because this is, again, something new.
Right.
Okay. Something that isn't new, but people are probably wondering, will the community gardens be open again and then spin into, will the farmers market be up and running again this summer?
Both of those, definitely. It's time to sign up for the community gardens.
Do you know what that costs? If you're a resident, don't you buy a little plot?
You do.
You don't know.
Yeah, you rent a plot.
Okay.
I don't remember the cost of it, but anyway, those will be up and running. Usually we're kind of even getting started on this, but with the snow and the cold weather, it's going to be a little bit longer delay this year till we're ready to plant things. But you know, it's a wonderful amenity for the residents. They enjoy it.
And who do they call if they want to do something?
Parks and Recreation. Okay. They rent this. Actually, it's probably at the service department now. We have changed our Parks and Rec maintenance is now under our service department. So call over to Public Works for that. And the farmers market, they'll be back in the same location in front of Gander Mountain, in front of Brewster's. Lots of parking there. The vendors like it. It's easy access. July through September. So.
And hopefully they'll get the spill of the Kent people leaving and wanting to buy something to take home with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity going on down there.
Yeah, there is actually down there. Okay. And a lot of activity as far as meetings. So let's go to them right now, and then we'll be back to finish things out. back with Kathy Procop, and I want to jump into something that was brought up last month, and it's the CIC committee, and tell again what that is and where we are, because I'm very excited about what could happen downtown in your square in that area.
Okay, CIC stands for Community Improvement Corporation, and this is a nonprofit organization made up of business people in the City of Twinsburg. We have a representative from the school district, council members, myself, our city planner, Larry Finch, is on this board. And we're very, very excited because we're concentrating on that the southeast quadrant of the square where this old school is located. And it's ripe for redevelopment. There's several properties that are for sale there. Right now we just finished the interview process.
Explain what you're doing now.
We're looking for a public-private partnership with a developer.
Okay.
And this will be a development company who comes in and will work with the city to devise a plan for how that area will be improved. And we have our best opportunity working with somebody that a small group of business people and representatives from the city bring on board, as I said, in a partnership, so that the planning process takes place not only with the city, but with this group and with the developer.
And I don't need names because I'm sure it's early for that, but did you have some nibbles of different companies that wanted?
We had some great interviews, and I believe that we're ready to enter into a developer agreement with one of the entities that interviewed with us, and I'll probably have an announcement within a couple of weeks on that.
Okay. Well, you mentioned one of the holdups, so it's going to be this old school. And I know this isn't a lawsuit, but they are trying to fight the decision of the Architectural Review Board. In the legal system, where does this go now? I don't know.
Well, it'll be interesting because they want to appeal the Architectural Review Board decision, but that's already been done. They already brought forward an appeal, and there was a process, and they appealed it, and nevertheless, council stood with the Architectural Review Board, upheld it.
Who changed their decision the second time around.
That's right.
And then that's when the council voted.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where we stand.
But who do they appeal that to then?
Well, that's why I'm not sure what would happen here, because it's already been appealed. So, I don't know what the legal process is, what the end goal is, but...
What do you wait for the green light? Let's say this company you're talking about, developer comes in and wants to really start things going, and it includes raising that building and starting. What kind of green light do you need to move that forward?
I guess we'll have to talk to the law director and find out what the judge rules on this, and I believe that's what we're
And I know there's
ready
no hurry to do anything at this point, other than...
Exactly.
But you are moving forward behind the scenes with your CIC group.
We have a long way to go. We have a long planning process that we're just getting into. The site itself, we're just at the beginning of it. We're finishing the environmental phase 2, a fuel tank that the fuel was stored to heat the building. That has just been removed. And those are things that take a long time. The ground now has to be analyzed to see if there was any impacts from that. We have to get an asbestos removal plan. So there's months and months.
I know the land comes as part of that. Will there be any work needing to be done for the Corps of Army Engineers as far as moving any kind of wetlands or any of that, or is that not part of that because you have that land that's basically staying there?
Right. The only part of that land that is environmentally sensitive is down by the creek and that lower ball field. That's in the floodplain.
Yeah.
But I don't see that would ever be part of the development plan.
Okay.
As far as we're concerned, we want to keep the sledding hill. We want to keep that whole area down by the creek. And so that would not be property, I believe, that the city would be willing to sell.
Because I know how much red tape's involved with that. I saw that in action.
That would not be an area that a developer would be able to develop.
Okay. And I know there's a small hurdle, we won't get into this, but the new nature park is moving forward on Liberty Road and that sort of thing with your partnership with the Summit County Parks Department or Metro Parks. They keep changing their name. Is that moving relatively well?
It is. We're supposed to have a ribbon cutting or groundbreaking, and that's coming up at the beginning of April. So as soon as we have some of these things worked out with the trail system, they should be good to go. I know that they've let it out to bid, and I believe they're ready to start construction.
And it doesn't sound like, I read about it, it's going to be a wood structure.
It is.
Yeah.
It's going to fit in really nice in a natural environment, so it's a natural-looking structure. It'll have an amphitheater, some hiking trails, and the nice part about several of the trails are that they will be ADA accessible. It's going to be a very, very nice facility.
And I think the second one that I know they have a large one located on one other part of their park system. And this
They
will
have
probably be
they have the Nature Realm, and they have the Cyberling Nature Center, so this is probably about the third.
Okay. Now, let's bring up when I say water park, I mean really the outdoor swimming pool. There's talk about sharing that facility with residents of Reminderville and residents of Twinsburg Township. Has that gone through?
It has gone through. That's been approved. So the new rates will be coming out shortly, and if we have non-residents who are interested in joining our water park facility, they will be able to do that. They could always attend it before, but as a guest.
Yeah.
So this just opens up the opportunity for them to purchase a season pass. And although the rate structure will be a little bit different for a non-resident, it's an opportunity for them to enjoy the summer.
Have you received, and I'm talking Jim Baylog and the trustees and Sam Alonzo and the council over there, have you received good feedback that they're kind of excited? Because a lot of these kids go to school together, and one's allowed in, the other one has to pay, you know what I mean? So
well, that's the main point of the whole thing. So many, they all go to school together, the kids from the city, Reminderville, the township, and it makes for a difficult summer when some of your friends can go and some of them can't, and this will be much more equitable for everybody, and it'll be
And for people in Twinsburg that are wondering, is there enough room for extra people like this?
There's plenty of room.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about, during your speech, you also brought up that Rick Racine had retired and you created a new assistant police chief position. Being that I didn't physically talk to you last month, they've had time to kind of get acquainted with what they're supposed to do. How are things going?
Wow, both of them have just jumped right
Tell everyone
right
who they
in.
are again, because I don't have it written down.
In the police department, the assistant chief is Bob Ganjeski, and we just call him AC very fondly. But he has just jumped right into that position. He's involved with union negotiations already for the patrol officers, and just on a day-to-day basis, he is very busy and keeps in constant communication with our end of the building. Really, really pleased to be working with him. I know that Chief Noga is just delighted to have a right-hand man there because it's a big job. There's a lot to do down there, and he has great communication skills, so we're very excited about it.
And when we did something, I know the Twinsburg Boy Scouts did something, and I think Chris is involved with them, but it's only fair to people like Chris Noga that they have to have an outside life besides the police, and in this way, that may free up a little bit more of his personal time with his family.
That's a good point, because you're on call 24/7, and you wouldn't think, but you really do get called a lot in the evenings and on the weekends, so it does split up the duties a little bit. When he's on vacation, we have one specific person in charge. Before, we used to split that between two lieutenants, and now we have an assistant chief. Another good thing is, we're going to miss him. Lieutenant Mike Nakata is retiring. His last day is the end of March 26th, I believe. So we're going to miss him. He's been just a really wonderful person working in the police department, works with patrol officers, and he's done just about everything. He's going to be retiring down to Florida.
He's not stupid, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. So with that retirement and then the promotion of Lieutenant Gajeski to Assistant Chief, we now have two positions open, two lieutenants.
Take me through, is this where the Civil Service Commission comes in, or what? Take me through what happens to fill those two positions.
Well, it does go through Civil Service, and that testing is completed, and the test scores are being computed right now, and we will have a promotion of 2 sergeants to the position of lieutenant. So, and again, then that creates...
I'm saying, does that open something
right,
even further down?
It creates 2 positions for sergeants, then you hire additional patrol officers, and bringing that change to the department is good because people are being promoted, and I'm just very pleased about it.
When people are concerned about the number of people, you're not adding people in this situation. You're replacing people, promoting people, and adding to replace the open spots that are there.
Oh,
so it's not like it's an added burden on the budget. In fact, it might even be the opposite.
Well, just for the one position for the assistant chief. But everybody else will be moving up through the ranks, and then 2 new officers. So it's a good thing for the department. I think it brings new ideas, new ways to operate, and change is always good in that way.
And if they're smart, they'll bring in somebody young who can take that police department and turn them into a little bit better basketball players, because I saw the teachers just wallop them about a week ago.
Yeah. I heard.
As we close things down, though, I have a couple minutes left. I want to ask you, when you go through budget negotiations with your council and your finance director and that sort of thing, a few years back, it seemed like, and I'm not naming names, but it seemed like the council spent a lot of time playing line item games as far as what is this for, blah, blah. Have you noticed in the last, couple of years when you do these budgets, and a lot of it's because there's more communication between this department heads and that sort of thing. Has it been a much easier process?
It's an easier process, and a lot of it is education and experience. We have council members who have been through that budget process, and they're sitting on the finance committee, and they've been through it many, many times. They really understand the process now. I believe that when they meet with the department heads, they know exactly what questions to ask.
Right.
They know what kind of answers they're looking for.
And on the flip side, because of this education, have you noticed that the department heads can try to sneak something in maybe that the council in the past may not have noticed? You know what I mean? They can't really...
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right. Everything is pretty well fine-tuned. And the other part about that is the council members who are very experienced with the budget are the best ones to teach the new council members. And our newest council members have come up to speed so quickly. Seth Roden and Maureen Stauffer and Ted Yates. And it's a very exciting process. It's very dynamic.
And how is the change of, I don't know if it's council as a whole or that whole thing where they get together before you go out to the meeting and that sort of thing. Has that worked out well for you, too?
That works out great. Nothing beats communication.
Yeah.
And being able to talk about the legislation. Each one of the department heads comes in, explains why they requested the legislation, what they're trying to accomplish with the request for the legislation. The council members have the opportunity to ask questions directly of the department heads. So they're not getting a second-hand answer from me or from the law director. They're face-to-face with the department head, and they can get the answers they're looking for. And we've been using that process now for about 5 years, and I really, really like it. It's a good process.
It eliminates a lot of the headaches.
It does.
Okay. Hey, thanks for coming by once again and giving everyone a kind of a background feel as what goes on, putting the numbers together, and we'll see you again next month.
Great. Thank you.
Which is